Hello everybody. Still doing good? Right on. So if you followed me for a little bit, you know that sometimes I make funny videos. Sometimes I make serious ones. And this will be an example of the latter. Let's talk about Michelle Lowe's bull crap. Michelle, so you instigate, yeah? You make fun of carnivores and the way they look. Okay. And then you insinuate that I am either very dishonest or just not that smart. All right. But when I respond to you poking fun at your witch-like appearance, you get all indignant. When I ask you to talk to me live, you run away with your tail between your legs, even though you called me out. Typical vegan hypocrisy. Weak. The reason why I asked you to talk to me first, like I ask anybody before I make a video response to them, except Dr. Greger because I'm not deluded, thinking that he'll actually talk to me, right? But the reason why I ask people to talk to me first before I make a video about them is because I want them to be able to represent themselves adequately, right? Because nobody can do that better than they can. And I like to have an honest conversation. I'm not afraid. Look, I think I know what the truth is, and I'm very confident that I know the truth, but I'm not afraid to find out that I'm wrong because ultimately I want to learn the truth, right? But I guess you and I ain't cut from the same cloth, are we, Michelle? It is what it is. I gave you a chance that you weren't ever willing to give me because you're the ethical one and I'm a murderer. And you chose to, once again, roll over and die. It is what it is. But maybe your comment, and I quote, "Thanks for the shout out," unquote, tells us everything we need to know, right? You're just doing this to get attention. You're not here for the truth. Look, we all want attention, but it seems like you just want the attention because our subscriber bases there's so much overlap there. You know, if I start talking about you, you're just going to get a ton of subscribers from my channel, right? Because I'm the one who's not that smart. Okay. So the video that you responded to is where I read an article summarizing a certain study. I give you a real life example that corroborates the claims made in the study. Then I give you my interpretation and opinion as to what those findings mean for the ideology of veganism. Okay? And if you have a different opinion, hey, let's have a chat. I think it'll be interesting. But according to you, I'm just wrong. I don't understand the article. I never read the study. I am simply too biased to see past my agenda, and I'm definitely anti-vegan. Wow. Okay. So in your video, you go on to say, and I quote, "There probably were vegan populations that live solely on plant-based diets out of necessity," unquote. And it doesn't take you but 2 seconds to say, quote, "If you are a vegan and are arguing our ancestors were vegan, sorry, they weren't," unquote. It doesn't take you but a couple of seconds to completely contradict yourself. Because I'm the one who's not that smart. Look, I understand. Maybe you misspoke or whatever, right? This is why I prefer to talk to people live, because they can correct their mistakes as we go. But essentially, the central claim of your video, which is somehow different than what I was saying, is that we have an adaptation where some people have an adaptation where they can convert ALA to DHA and EPA very easily. And those people have an ancestral route that was primarily vegetarian. Okay, where did you get this very easily from? And how did you surmise that they were primarily vegetarian? Where is this data coming from? Your butthole? Probably. This is why I wanted to talk to you, because you're full of crap. You have no clue what you're talking about. Let me read you an excerpt from a study. Look, just Google these words if you want to find the study. It's not that difficult. I'm quoting now. Most studies in humans have shown that whereas a certain, though restricted, conversion of high doses of ALA to EPA occurs, conversion to DHA is severely restricted. Okay. So, Michelle, once again, you say that there is an adaptation, which is what the study was talking about, which is what I was talking about, which allows us to convert ALA to these other omega-3 fatty acids, right? That's all correct. But you say very easily, we are able to, once you have this adaptation, you have this gene, you can do it very easily, is what you say. That's funny because a meta-analysis of studies that studied this conversion, and more specifically, the conversion rates in the people that can convert it, have shown that conversion from ALA to EPA is restricted, not very good. And the numbers that I saw are somewhere around 10 to 12%, 1 to 10 conversion, okay? But the conversion of ALA to DHA is severely restricted. And from what I've seen is somewhere around 2 to 4%. So you have to eat tons and tons of plant foods that have ALA in them in order to be able to convert enough of both EPA and DHA, right? It's not, even though you do have this adaptation where you can actually convert it, the conversion rates are minuscule. We don't do this very easily, as you say. And once again, this is a meta-analysis that looked at a whole bunch of studies. This is what the science tells us. Moreover, if you have a diet rich in omega-6 or a plant-based diet, right? Whenever you get these omega-3s, the ALA, just ALA from the plant-based diet, you're going to have, more often than not, a lot of omega-6s present. And the ratio is highly inflammatory. There's a lot more omega-6s or omega-6 present than omega-3, right? And when that happens, quoting from the study once again, with a diet rich in omega-6s, conversion is reduced to by 40 to 50%. Meaning that conversion, let's say, of 1 to 10 becomes 1 to 1 to 20 all of a sudden, right? Instead of 10%, you're getting 5% from the ALA to DHA. And when it comes to, EPA, and when it comes to DHA, it's somewhere around 1 to 2%. Minuscule, damn near non-existent. So if you're eating a plant-based diet, your conversion rates are garbage. But according to Michelle, Dr. Michelle, we do it very easily. Cute, real cute. Not you. So then you go on to surmise that Neanderthals who had this adaptation, they did have this allele insertion. By the way, how am I the dumb one who doesn't get this shit? And you're the scientist when you can't even fucking pronounce allele. You're such a fraud. But anyway, you go on to say, and I quote, Neanderthals would have been perfectly fine on the vegan diet because they had this gene or allele insertion. You didn't think about that, did you, Carneval? You haven't read the paper. It tells a very different story. Okay, so you're essentially saying that the paper tells us that Neanderthals could have been vegan. Where? Where in the paper does it say that? Nowhere. And just for the record, Neanderthals ate a diet of 80% meat, 20% plants. But they could have been vegan. They just didn't want to. Oh, God. Is this why you didn't want to talk to me? Of course. So, all of a sudden, the problem with the vegan diet, the only problem with people being on the vegan diet, according to Dr. Michelle, is the omega-3 fatty acid conversion. That's the only problem, right? There's no problem with getting your B12. There's no problem with converting beta-carotene to retinol, something that I've talked about on this channel, where something like maybe half of the UK population, for example, cannot do this at all. right? There's no problem with plant iron absorption, even though heme iron is really the one that our body wants. And I could just go on and on and on and on talking about how animal foods and animal nutrition, or nutrition from animal foods, tends to be more bioavailable to us when it comes to everything, protein included, right? But all of a sudden, it's as long as you could convert omega-3 fatty acids, even though you can't very efficiently, even if you can, because science says so, all of a sudden that's the only hindrance. That's the only thing standing between you and veganism. What the hell are you talking about? To summarize, Michelle cites the study that allegedly I didn't read, or so she says, even though she makes statements that attribute statements to the study that I never saw anywhere in there. How'd that work, girl? Anyway, she cites the study, and then she gives us a link to it, and she also gives us a link to another scientific paper, right? Because that's all it takes in your vegan echo chamber. Nobody's going to go and read these things. What the fuck? All you got to do is just put some links in the description and science, right? Because science, because I'm Michelle, I'm Dr. Michelle, and this is science. Fuck my life. So anyway, this second piece of literature, scientific literature, that Dr. Michelle cites to substantiate her ludicrous claims is entitled, quote, "Are we genetically adapted to the Neolithic diet?" unquote. Now, if you don't know, the Neolithic period is the period of agricultural explosion advancement. It's when we started en masse growing all kinds of plants and, eat to this day, basically, right? So at that point in time, roughly 10,000 years ago, our diets had included many, many more plants than 2.5 million of years of the Paleolithic age prior to that, right? So in other words, we were evolving for 2.5 million years in the Paleolithic era. And then the Neolithic came, which was about 10,000 years ago, right? Okay. And this is what the paper that you think Michelle supports your claims and debunks me says. I wonder if you read it. I wonder if you did. Either you did not read this, or you did read it and didn't understand it because you're not that smart, or you did read it, you did understand it, and you're just lying to us. See, I gave you 3 options. Choose one. Anyway, the last couple of sentences, I think. Let's go. Considering the short length of time since the agricultural revolution, this is the Neolithic period, there has therefore been limited opportunity for such mutations to arise in response to modern foods, right? Like the gene that gave us the ability for limited conversion of omega-3s, right? That's when that happened, most likely. Considering the short length of time since the agricultural revolution, there has therefore been limited opportunity for such mutations to arise in response to modern foods. Conversely, the length of the Paleolithic era, around 2.5 million years, provided far more opportunity for mutations of all kinds to arise and to undergo natural selection. Given the small number of genetic changes that have occurred in the last 10,000 years in response to diet, it can be concluded that the Paleolithic dietary template is most closely aligned with our genetic makeup. Paleo diet, in other words, is most closely aligned with our genetic makeup. This is the paper that's supposed to prove your mythical vegan tribes that did and didn't exist at the same time. Dr. Michelle. Really? You just dug your own grave, girl. According to, once again, the paper that you cite, we're supposed to be eating a Paleolithic, paleo diet. Now, I don't know if you know, Michelle, what that diet is, but if there's any confusion as to what's on the menu, I refer you to cave paintings. And, as you would call it, paleo poop, not coprolites. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm not going to be wasting any more of my time with this kook. Seriously. Take care.